Divan. We're here with Enlightened World Network, bringing you another session of Light Language, One with the Light. We are extremely honored today to have Sonal Karamchandani here with us. She's actually calling in from Bangkok, and it's midnight for her. So we are so grateful that you're here with us. And I'm going to hand this over to Sharmee.
Thank you, Ruth. Hi, Sonal. Welcome to
Hi.
our show. And how are you doing today?
Good. Excited, nervous, and good.
So, it was interesting how we connected over the whole light language thing. I remember seeing some of your artwork on one of the groups, and I contacted you. But have you been doing this for a long time, for many years, many months? How
So
has
I have knowingly been doing this for 4 years, but unknowingly, apparently, I've been doing it since childhood. Like I was one of those kids where when the teacher would talk and I could not focus and I would just doodle, and to me it was just basic doodling. And all my life I've always doodled, and to me what is light language in today's language is actually doodle in my childhood language. And I used to be screamed at by mom, like, will you stop doing all these drawings and pay attention and bring in good grades? And then when I started, my work as a life coach, sometimes in the sessions itself, I would also, like in my notes, I have this habit of taking notes, like just bullet points, and I'll start doodling with one hand. Or even in the sessions, I would do some kind of signals, like it would just go on. And I would, because I'm a Reiki master, so I used to just think maybe I'm just doing Reiki signals and not pay attention, because when you're on a video session, you're trying to like read your script, you're looking at body language, you're looking at your clients. So you're not really paying attention with what your hand is doing. Until I went to an Akashic Record course. And over there, like my hand has this habit of flying all over. That's what people would describe it. And I had this Thai lady who, there was just an attunement just happened. And this Thai lady was also doodling. But suddenly she started speaking light language. And another friend of mine was also speaking light language. And of course, the whole class of us were like astonished with what's going on, because it sounds like an alien language with click, clock, click, clock. And we're like, what is really happening? But I was really focused on her drawing, on her notes, because I was doing the same thing during class again. And to me, that was like, I can never focus. And that's why I'm doodling. And then I asked her, like, what are you doing? And that's when both of them told me that, are you aware this is light language? And that's when I was like, what are you talking about? Like, and I was told that, no, go Google and see that it is actually light language. And after that course, I actually did pay attention to my hand. So I'm someone who would doodle and my hand would do things. And I could never stop my right hand to do it. Like even now, it's just happening. It's not like I'm purposely doing it, but it's just happening on its own. Yeah. And I would just, now when you do it unconsciously, it's fine. But now when I was conscious of it, I would actually put my hand down and say, okay, stop. This is embarrassing now. So I became very conscious of it. And I tried to Google about it. And very often it was like as though I was reading Greek. Like I told you, Sharmee, like when you asked me, Sonal, have you been doing this for a long time? And I said, yeah, consciously, I've been doing this for 4 years now. And especially when you connected me, we were approaching the Lion's Gate. And it was insane that I just started doing so much of it. And I didn't even know. I thought what's going on. I would wake up in the middle of the night and I just had to do it. And I started off with a lot of just paper, plain, light language, creating this. And this is one of the few that I had actually put onto the Facebook page. Mm-hmm. And then I went into the online, and it just takes me like at literally 5 minutes to do something like this. And I couldn't understand what was going on. So like, this is something I did actually during a session today where, the client was in and I was suddenly drawing it. And as he was trying to take resource words, I was actually saying the words and putting them as what it came. And I don't know why I do what I do. Like there's no mind logic to the whole thing. But that's when, especially during last year, when I was in Bangkok for the quarantine, because I got stuck in India.
Yes, I remember.
And that's when that friend told me to do a lot of courses with, from someone from Canada, someone from USA. And I would wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning because of the time difference, and it would be on light language. And I did some kind of light language. And I was told that, do you know you have ancient Lemurian aspects? You're a gatekeeper. You're a gatekeeper to the Stargate. You create healing mazes, and your drawing light language is actually opening portals of activations and downloads. And at that point, I was like, whoa, woman, can you go a little slow? Like, I don't know what you're talking. To me, that whole thing is Greek. What do you mean by Lemurian? What do you mean by Atlantia? Like, what are you saying? And she's like, make space for the divine gift. Like, that's a gift you have, and you've just, don't reject the gift and don't block the, flow of miracles, because you are here to actually activate and open the gate or portals to that land. And the more I would do different courses, and they would tell me the same thing. It's like it just went on. And then I was told to actually, from another client, to get a book, The Lost Lands. And I started reading more about the Lemurians and the Atlantia, and I was doing some of the quiz. And even though I was reading pages, it sometimes the words would just fly, or I just couldn't make sense of something that's written in English. And I was like, why can't I understand this? It's English. I know how to read. And what was nice was when you told me, Sonal, maybe you know it better than the original and you just can't comprehend the whole thing. And that's when I realized, okay, stop being too hard on yourself and just do you.
Right.
And that's what was happening a lot during the Lionsgate, because, with the work that has been happening and the downloads that happen in the night, a lot of times the messages come and I don't make sense of it, but I do see images. And, it just feels that sometimes it is just the one heart together that we shine. And we just need to open to that one consciousness, because you cannot understand this language. It's a language of communication from the angel, the God, the source. And when I heard it the first time, I was like, is this a new communication or is it an ancient one? Like, what is this that's going on? Because it really sounds like an alien language. And it's only, I think, in the last 2 weeks that I've started speaking it. And I'm still trying to get used to the idea. I speak it more in my head than I'm speaking it out loud, but it's happening.
Yes. So, Sonal, Mike, I was listening to you telling me this incident about, where you realized from your friends that you were channeling light language, and then we kind of skipped to a little more of the future. What I want to know from you is what happened after that, like immediately after that. So when you realize that, oh my gosh, this is light language, how did you take it? What happened? What were your emotions?
I thought I was going mad. I remember reaching out to like my life coach and speaking about it. And he was very supportive. Like, why don't you read about it? Why don't you take a course? And it just, when I did look into the Google for light language, the whole thing really looked like Greek language. And that's when I felt that, because even like my whole healing has been a gift from, Meher Baba. And even when I read Meher Baba's book, I'm not able to comprehend it very much. And, a lot of my healing comes from thy will of, just hearing whoever I hear and following it and just going intuitively with what it is. So when I actually noticed my hand moving, and it, like when I actually went for the same teacher, did an Akashic reading for me. And she, when reading, said that in your library, I can see you'll be using your hands for healing. And I was trying to fit the puzzle during the Akashic, course. that what is going on, that why is it really that my hand is moving. So when she said that your hand will be used for healing, it made a lot of sense, because when I give someone a hug, I have a tendency of doing something without noticing it again. And I thought it was just my way of, like where you just rotate and you kind of like a heart circular thing. But I've never really brought meaning to it. So the next time I hugged someone, I realized I was more conscious of what my hand was doing. And I realized it's some kind of sign, which I cannot decipher, because we all know that I was told you can't decipher it word to word. It's just a language you feel energetically. Yeah. And when I was told, or when I read that it's a language you feel energetically, it made more sense to me, because in my sessions, what really happens is I understand the energy of words. The same word would mean something else. So I remember instead when, I was in a seminar with you, actually, I think you were there. And something happened in the front stage and a word was said and the whole hall became heavy. And I just had to scan and my hand stopped somewhere. And I looked at that person and she was crying. And I knew the exact word that created that. And again, my hand would move. And that is why a lot of times I would actually sit at the back, because I became conscious of the fact that my hand is moving. So I would pretend to I'm setting, I'm holding the embrace, but at the side, the thing would happen. Yeah. But it made me conscious, because I really wasn't sure, is this a thing? I was still having a lot of doubts about what was going on, until, like I said, when I was in quarantine and when other people who did light language looked at my drawing and said that this is what you're doing, this is what you're supposed to. And then in my sessions, I would know other clients who are also doing light language.
Yes.
And it would be suddenly I would tell them that, do you doodle? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, can you show me? Because most of my sessions are video calls from Long. And they're like, okay. And they would have it, because they'll always have a notebook and the doodling will be there. And I was like, are you even aware that's actually like language? And why don't you tap more into it? And they've come back with, we have dreams, we are coding, and we're doing a lot of stuff. So that's when, the fact that I was told that I am a key keeper and a gatekeeper, I started connecting this whole, cosmic connection, unity, the language, and realizing that it's rather how you think about it. It's really just the energy. And if you actually open into that energy, you start understanding that others are also tapping into it.
Yes.
And then you just consciously, in oneness, heal and evolve, like on a soul level. Something just happens in a very magical way. And you actually heal emotionally and physically. Sometimes people ask me, because sometimes I do the diagram, because like I was told, it's a healing maze in the session, and I actually give it to the client. And they tell me, what is this? And I explain a bit, and I tell them, just breathe into the energy of that diagram. And they do feel some kind of shifts happening. Like very often when I have done that, they have found a healing shift happening by just touching the energy of it. And that's the reason why I use a lot of light language, even in my session, whether the client knows or doesn't know, because it is creating a shift. And it is a healing language. It is the highest form of language of the gods, the angels, the source. And I believe nothing can be higher than that, because you can't decipher. The mind doesn't talk about it. There is no human brain. You go into this gamma, point. And yeah.
That's beautiful. It's interesting that you use the visual light language and give it to your clients as a part of it. And how long have you been doing that, Sonal?
I would say specifically 2 years. Actually, no. I seem to forget that 1.5 years we've been in COVID. So that feels like a very stagnant year. But then it would have been 3.5. more or less. I've been doing this for 3.5 years, where I give it to clients who come if they're having issues with pregnancy, physical issues, and I would just be guided that the diagram during the session is for them and to just tell them to breathe into it. Yeah.
Sharmee, I've got, just a couple of comments. Sonal, I want to be hugged by you.
She gives the best one.
I want to line up and get a hug.
Yeah.
What a beautiful gift that is, to share the light language through a hug. I've never heard of that concept before. And I'm getting that. Thank you. I'm feeling that. Thank you. And I also loved when you said that you will share a visual and say, breathe into the energy of the diagram, because I have been given diagrams to share with one of my friends who was terminally ill. And I thought, this is the strangest thing, but I'm seeing this diagram and I'm being told, and I could see it would have like a moving part or something to it. And I was told to have her put herself into that energy. And I thought, well, this is just the strangest thing, but really it was saying the same thing as breathe into the energy in the diagram, put yourself in that energy. So that's exciting to me to hear that's how you experience this, because I have experienced that as well.
And the truth is, okay, so this is what started from the line during the Lion's Gate, which started in July 26th to, I think, the 12th. And I ordered this book and I got markers. And it just went on. Like each day I would just create, 3. It would just go on and I wouldn't know sometimes why, what. And I would send it to another client of mine. And it was interesting how she would decipher it. Like this was a lot. I felt it was a womb healing. And then there was this part where it felt like the temple gates and the energy. And while I was doing it, because during the Lionsgate time where all of us were feeling very emotionally, we were going through a roller coaster. But the truth is, while I was doing this, I can't explain the lightness I was feeling. So it came to this was also a lot of womb healing. And then I felt like there's a third eye. And then this was like the Kundalini. Like I would have people trying to decipher my own drawings. And this was, it would just go on. And it was interesting where on the Lionsgate, I suddenly had this come up on that day itself.
Wow. That is so cool.
And there was once where I was just talking to someone. So the day that I actually started speaking the light language was this diagram that came in. Yes. And then there was one which is, it's very close to me, but it was an angel that just came in that day. And I realized, I can't seem to find it right now, but yeah. So, or like even this one was like, how someone told me it looks like the Ganesha dancing. And I was like, I really don't know, because I would just pick up a color. And it was interesting when I was on. So before the Lionsgate ended, I wanted to be on the beach. And my son looked at this book because I brought it to do it on the beach. And he's like, Mom, what is this? And of course they laughed, they made fun of me. And he asked me, how long does it take you to do one? And I said, well, let me do one for you. And this is the one I did for my son. And immediately after doing it, it's like my hand literally just, like it just went all like it's doing the same thing again. And he's like, what are you doing?
Symbols in it. I recognize
Yes.
a couple of Zebu symbols.
Okay, I don't know what I draw. Instead, like the last one that I've done, I got the black book and I did this. And someone said, oh, wow, it's like the number 5. It's luck. It's Ganesha. It's this. So everybody comes with their own different. But what really happens is right after the drawing, it's like as though my hand just goes into this dance. And you know how uncomfortable I am for dancing. But it's like in that moment, and ever since this 2 weeks that I have been saying it, There are times when my hand just goes and I'm going into this flow and I'm like, what's going on? Because I'm someone who would never move in that way, but it's happening. And I have a mirror in front of my bed and I'm just looking at it and I'm just witnessing it. That, okay, but what was interesting was I had a client who told me, Sonal, your voice is very light. Like you feel very flighty and light. And I was like, why do you say that? She just said there's something about your voice that is just very, I don't know. It's like you're not in the body. And I said, the truth is I really feel like this ever since I've been doing this nonstop during the Lionsgate. And it was the best experience. And I'm continuing it where every night before sleeping, I just allow the codes to come in and I breathe into it. And I've been sleeping like a baby.
Sonal, can I ask, does it always feel like it's the same energy coming in through you, or does it feel like maybe you're channeling from different sources?
No, very different. Because like if you notice in this, there is some kind, initially when I started, it was too much. And I know there's a difference. And then this one was more of a buzz. I could feel a buzz. And then over here, it felt like a very knowledgeable kind of coding that's coming. So the energy of all the codes are very different. This one was literally like, when you're at a temple and you're hearing all the slopes and stuff, it was just coming in, and it was more like a language that was going on, not more of a diagram. Like normally, when you do like light language, it comes from, it's geometrical, it's spiral, it's circle, it's hearts, it's stars, and then the words. And I am very skeptical. So when I had these things coming up and I was like, is this really something? And I Googled it and I realized, yes, it is something. And there was once where actually I really got frightened because it came, I think I even sent this to you, Sharmee, where it came like a very angry energy.
I've seen this. I remember this.
And I was like, whoa. And I felt like when I was doing it, something was healing my heart chakra. And I was just in tears after doing it. And I just wanted to sleep because it was an energy that I wasn't familiar with. And ever since then, I do know that after the Lionsgate, there's been an energy of anger in a lot of people. But it's not like you're angry about something. And, I am always very observant of the thoughts and what is coming true. And it was only the last 2-3 days that I realized that the anger is actually something that we all have maybe dormanted. And when you have like the creator and the destroyer, it needed Shiv to get angry, to do that anger dance, to be the destroyer of what maybe we have created. And we have created this whole being, this conditioning, this 3D, and we need to break the 3D to be able to actually transit to the 5D. And that's when I realized that the anger was coming as to take the anger away, and so the power comes in. And that's when my light language coding started becoming very different. I could see a more calmness, like the stars came in, the swirls and the pastel colors came in. So it was very different suddenly.
It feels like you transmuted the anger to love.
Yes, it happened very naturally, like as though with the light language, there was some kind of healing that was happening. I can't seem to find the angel, and it's so weird. There. So this was the day when I started speaking, the angel, and I just knew that I actually connected to my heart center. Or I would rather say the world connected to to a heart center right after the Lion's Gate. I could feel that oneness happening. And, it was the most beautiful experience on the 12th, though I was on the beach, but there was something that just, I could envision the earth feeling like, because till then, the earth's energy was really the lowest compared to all planets. Yeah. We were really the lowest in frequency. And many of us were getting up feeling that we can't even breathe. It's not just because of COVID, but suddenly we just couldn't breathe. And that's when, thanks to Instagram and Facebook, we have enough of knowledge. And somewhere I read that the earth's energy's frequency is the lowest. And something on the 12th just changed that. And in my drawing, I could feel as though the earth was being showered with lots of love. And that's when, the whole angel, the way the codings came in was just different. The expressions were different. The energy was different. Kinesthetically, it was just a very, on a soul, it just felt complete. Like emotionally, physically, it felt like something was sent on earth to heal and evolve.
And that was about the same time that you started speaking light language as well.
Pretty much the same. Yes. Like I have a lot of recordings when I went to the ocean and I was just recording it. And I mean, my husband was there, my son was there, and they made fun. They kind of took it seriously. And I don't blame them, because when I heard it the first time, it just sounded insane. Because it's really like an alien language with click-clocks, click-clocks. And you can't stop. It doesn't even sound like you. And like recently, there was someone who was really unwell. And I was just guided that, send light language. And I remember calling my other two, like whoever was at the light language. And for some reason, they were actually online. And we got together and they were saying it for this, this person who wasn't well. And I could see myself adding myself to it, but I was actually doing more of the movements. And that's the time when I saw my body sway as though I was dancing the light language, and something I would never do. But it's not really welcomed yet. Because when I even said, can I send light language? I did tell the people that you can't, it has to come from a place of no judgment. Because when you hear it the first time, you will mock, you will laugh. You might even think that it's too shamanic, it's just not right. But when I have seen how someone who sends me a light language, and I sometimes can't get out of bed for 2 days, and immediately after hearing it, I can just go up and shower and drive. I've seen the quick healing effect it has of putting my hand on the head of someone and the headache just disappearing. And that's when I realized that it is the highest form of healing. There is nothing higher, because it is coming from that source. It is coming from that angel. It's coming from that God. And if you try to understand it, you kind of break the energy and the frequency of it. But if you just energetically receive it, it does wonders.
Thank you.
That is great. Thank you so much for that description.
So empowering. So Sonal, if because this show is being viewed by people pretty much all across the world, and just like you said, some people might be in question with it. Some people might think it's funny. Some might think it's gibberish. What is that one message that you have for the people out there who I would say are trying to recollect the light language?
I would say, listen to your intuition. If you are here today watching this, to me, that's already a sign, because otherwise you wouldn't be watching this. It's just like for me to be there at the right time to hear two people on the third day of our course, to subtly speak it. And then I had to experience, because I'm a very skeptical person. And instead, a lot of time, the question isn't so much of like what, it's after a while is who can do light language? And I always tell someone that you just need to open your channel to light language. It is the language of your soul. And it's not, you just have to connect there. And ultimately, you will open into your own soul's timeline. And if you feel drawn to it, what I was doing was I was listening to a lot of YouTubes. I was just listening to them. I'll experiment it. I would hear it and just see what comes up. And internally, it was already starting because, we have it in us. We all have it in us. It's just that we've forgotten with the whole layers. And generally speaking, we all will go into it. It's just a question, if you're thinking of it from the mind, again, you kind of like push yourself away. But if you allow the spirit to speak to you, through you, you just need to allow your mind to let go and receive it and don't doubt it. Because if you don't doubt it, the healing happens. If you don't doubt it, you tap into it, you start speaking it, you start moving, you start doodling. It's something that you can't stop. It's like how I couldn't stop it during that time where the codes were just coming. And I really thought that maybe this is my mind until Facebook and Instagram was saying that it is a time when a lot of light codes are coming on earth. And I was like, oh, so this wasn't me creating this. This was happening very organically. So allow that flow, open your heart to it. It's just like, when you go to a country and you have different dialects and languages, and some of us shut it because it sounds irritating. And some of us just love the way the language is. Like I've always loved how Spanish language is, or the Arabic language, because of the way it's spoken. So it's really, if it is your calling, it will happen. Just be open to it, because it is the language of the heart. It's the language of connection. It's the language of oneness. It's the language where the whole world, the whole earth is going to. It's the language of the 5D, where you don't make sense of anything. You don't use your mind. You just use your energy and kinesthetically feel what has to be felt on an energy level, energetically.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Over to you.
So are we ready, Sonal? Are you ready to share with us some light language? Sharmee, can you hear me?
Sharmee, you're going to have to help me. Like I'm a little conscious still.
You don't have to, if you're not comfortable. So
No.
just be open, like you said.
Ishala kashika ushara kashira ikarakura urakara ushara shafi kirokushara shara shara shirkiri karakura karakura shara shara karakura ashara shahi shara 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 ishara shara ishara shara ishara shakarka ishara shara kashira karakura ashara shish asha ash ashara shara 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 karakura Ashara ishuru shara shara shimana klaka mitra klaka alaka bitra klaka bitra klaka asha ashir karaka asha ishara shara shalaka ishalaka ishalaka ishalaka.
Wow.
Thank you, Sonal, so much. And how brave you are to share that when you've only been doing that for a couple of weeks. How brave.
Yeah.
I don't think it's also been 2 weeks. 8.
Very, very powerful.
It really is. It really is. Sharmee, as you were listening to that, what did you experience?
I felt like an intergalactic code that came in through her. Is that how you felt?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I absolutely did. It was feeling, it was feeling Lemurian to me. Yeah.
Like I said, I am still a newbie at it. I'm still tapping into it. I'm just going I'm going towards it more intuitively than understanding it, actually. And I think that's what I do a lot of times in life. I just intuitively flow. And that's worked more better for me than to use the mind.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Of course, listening to it, we're wanting to glean from it. What can we glean from this? And I just kept hearing, it wasn't that it sounded like it, but I just kept getting the visual of light. I had gotten that several times, light, light, light. So I was trying to key into, okay, so what light? But it truly felt otherworldly, and it truly felt Lemurian to me.
It sounded very, very intergalactic to me.
You told me that before when I first did one, the first
That
one I
it sounded
sent it to you and I was like, Sharmee, I did it. And she was like, it sounds intergalactic. And I was like, I went into my old notes of like what people have told me. And it's like, sometimes I don't, am I a Lemurian? I'm from the Atlantia. What is it? And I was like, okay, stop, Sonal. Like, try not to put a definition to it. It's light. It's beautiful. It feels from the heart. And that's all that matters.
Absolutely. Sonal, how old is your son?
He's 22. My daughter's 25. He's 22.
Okay.
Wow.
So they're probably trying to figure out, what is mom doing and what does that mean?
I think on many levels, I've been very blessed that my kids do approach me for sessions and healing.
Okay.
And it was only recently where my son went through an accident. And I'm grateful I had all the coaching. But I do know the light language helped also a lot, because I was constantly, my hand was constantly on him. His heart, his body, his hand. And I would allow my hand to do whatever it wants, because to me, I believe there's no higher energy than a mother's energy. And if you mix it with the energy of the universe, you don't need anything else. There's no higher power than that. I mean, that's always been my language to anyone who has a child who's sick. And I was like, just be there and also be in surrender. It's there. The language will do what it has to do. It can go anyways, but it'll do what it has to do. Because it brings, like, the more I've done the light language, I feel more in alignment. So even if after the session I've given a client something, or I've told my daughter to breathe into it or whichever, they've seen me do the hand. They've seen me do the drawing. My son just wanted to see how long I took to do one of them. But the speaking came in as a shock, and it became a dinner joke. Like, because my daughter's in Singapore, so it's like, have you heard mom's light language?
Oh my.
And then it became like a mockery. And then, of course, when they saw the YouTube and realized that this is actually a thing, like mom's not creating this, that's when the respect came. And I mean, they've been very supportive about this whole thing, about my whole path to whatever that's been happening. And I've been really lucky that at every step, I've always got the guidance. Like, I would have never known about the light language. And there was this friend who would actually meet me for coffee and tell me, Sonal, you need to meet, you need to listen to the audio, you have to tap into this. And this was like 4 years back. I met her at the Pranic Healing Center, and she recognized, and she's like, you've got to do this. This is the ultimate. And then she got me into a lot of essential oils, to actually use the oils to kind of activate the language. And, she's been a very big support. Her name is Halima, and she speaks it. She's really strong at it. And she's like got this group of like 5 of us. And it's like, she's been pushing us. And I find that really special, because very often everyone's in their own world. It's just like when you saw my light language and you said, Sonal, can we interview you? And I was like, but Sharmee, I don't know much about this. I'm literally just following the path of where I'm being guided. And yeah.
And you do know a lot about it.
Yes.
So don't undermine what you know, because you do know.
There's so much wisdom that came in today. They wanted you to say it.
When I said yes, I knew that they'll take over. I just knew they'll take over. I've been witnessing a lot of that, and I've been saying, like, stop using your mind and just allow it to happen now. Like, because it is the time where the earth needs healing. We need to come into oneness. I am very much aware of that aspect. And it's really tapping into the language of love, the language that is light, the language that doesn't make sense to the mind and only energetically feel, just like that hug that you felt.
Mhm.
To know that we can actually, that's one thing COVID has taught us, that we are so energetically connected from a distance and we can feel everything. And that's a beautiful experience. And that's the same thing light language does. It connects you on a level that you cannot decipher, discern, make sense of. There's no word to word there's no word to word to explain that experience. You need to experience it to understand it, the healing and the aspect of it.
Yes.
Wow. So, Sharmee, do you have any last questions before we find out more about how folks can connect with Sonal?
I think we're good.
Well, I would love to just sit with you and be able to observe and look at your graphics up close. But I know you work with clients. How can folks learn more about you?
I do have an Instagram handle with Journey with Sonal or Healing Our Soul. So I'm on both of them. And my webpage is healingoursoul.com.
Okay. Great. So folks can check that out. That's fabulous. What a treat today. I just have to thank you so much. I know it's late for you, and we so appreciate you being here with us. And Sharmee, thank you for bringing us this amazing guest today.
My pleasure. I'm
Thank
grateful
you,
that you
Sharmee.
came. You're most welcome. So happy.
This just brought more confidence to what I was doing. So I'm really grateful to Sharmee for actually putting it out. And of course, Ruth for also being kind enough to have me here today.
Oh, our pleasure. And friends, here at Enlightened World Network, if you want to learn more about light language or about any of our amazing light workers, please come back. Check us out on Facebook at Enlightened World Network and on YouTube. We've got over 2,000 videos. So just come make yourself at home and welcome to our safe spiritual community. So much love to each and every one of you. Sonal, Sharmee, this was fabulous. Thank you. And we're going to say goodbye for now. Take care.